is a form of writing. Science fiction story is a form of art in which the story is based on fact. Science fiction is a form of literature in which the story or movie, in this case story, is based on science, but it is an imagination.
सर
Science
टेक्स्ट कर दीजिए ना,
क्यों सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है?
थोड़ा वो कट जाता है। मेरा
Science,
एक्चुअली वाईफाई भी ठीक से नहीं चल रहा है।
अच्छा. Science fiction is a story that is based on fact and science, but it is fiction. Science, C-I-N-C. Science fiction stories are based on science and facts, but they are imaginary. Fictional. Okay, so this is the definition of science fiction. I wrote it in the chat, as Pragya said. So science fiction stories, it can be anything. It can be poem, it can be movies, it can be anything. In our case, it is a story. So science fiction stories are based on science and facts, but they are imaginary and fictional. Now, this is an oxymoron. Oxy, O-X-Y, O-X-Y, M-O-R-O-N. Oxymoron means, oxymoron. Oxymoron means two opposite words are placed side by side. So science fiction is an imagined reality. G-I-N-E-D, L-I-T-Y. It is an imagined reality. Now see the word imagined and reality. Imagine मतलब जो सच ना हो, काल्पनिक, और reality मतलब जो सच हो. तो ये सच है तो काल्पनिक कैसे, और काल्पनिक है तो सच कैसे? If it is a fictional, how it is based on fact, that Rishita said, and if it is imaginary, how it is based on science. So this is science fiction. Say for example, say Ant-Man. I'm talking about that Marvel series Ant-Man. Now here, they are talking about a science according to which the size of a thing can be made small. That is true. वो सच है, वो ऐसा होता, कुछ कुछ छोटा हो जा सकता है, लेकिन उतना भी नहीं. So it is based on science. मतलब हर science fiction movie stories जो है उसका background science होता है, but it is based on science, but then it is imagined. Say for example, Captain America. Captain America has a shield. Okay, so उसमें गोली लगने से कुछ नहीं होता है. Even if you fire a bullet, nothing happens to it. Now there are certain metals that are powerful enough to shield you from bullets, but not to that extent. So as Sambhu was trying to say कि शायद फ्यूचर में ऐसा हो, तो हो भी सकता, नहीं भी हो सकता है. So science fiction is a type of literature in which कहानी का जो बैकग्राउंड होता है, जो बेसिस होता है, जो प्रॉप्स होता है, जो कोर कंसेप्ट होता है, वो साइंस पे बेस्ड होता है, लेकिन वो रियल नहीं होता है. मतलब साइंस का बेसिस होता है, फिर सब इमेजिनरी होता है. ना कमिंग बैक टू दिस स्टोरी ऑल समर्स इन ए डे. इसमें क्या है साइंस और क्या है फिक्शन? द साइंस इज, ट्रू साइंस फैक्ट इज that people have gone to Mars. ये बात सच है. Science have come to a factual conclusion. This is no more a hypothesis. We all know there are possibilities of life on Mars. We have even heard that there are lots of people who have bought land on Moon, including Sushant Singh Rajput had a piece of land in Mars. That means Mars में life is possible, but not to this extent that there is a school college and students have been studying, इतना कुछ नहीं है. So science fiction में उसका basis जो है वो साइंस पे होता है, बट उसके बाद वो सब बेसिस ही होता है, बाकी सब काल्पनिक होता है. So lot of Indian example. Now let us say for example some Bollywood examples just to make you a cosmopolitan. Say for example, Matrix is a very powerful science fiction movie, or say Batman or Superman. These are all science fiction because they are based on science. But since they are based on science, that doesn't mean कि ऐसा होता ही है कि you can like an Iron Man fly in the sky. No, Iron Man का बहुत बात सच है, basis सच है, core values सच है, but it's not possible that you can fly like Iron Man, at least not till now. So, for example, Iron Man के पास एक software है, we might have seen, कि where whatever he says वो चला आता है. So I've read in newspaper that Jarvis is his name. So Facebook का CEO Mark Zuckerberg has one software like that, not exactly like that, but similar to that. So science fiction is a form of literature in which the story is based on truth, it is based on fact, it is based on reality, but then the author mixes of his own mirch masala imagination, his uh, fictional account of it. So this is science fiction. Now what happens here is much more than science fiction. This is not just a science fiction story. It is a story with lots of symbolic interpretation. It's a story with lots of multiple angles, with multi-dimensional aspects of it. One aspect is the title of this story. Those who are good, those who are willing to write can write it down. जो लोग लिखने उखने का शौक है, जो लोग सो नहीं रहे हैं, जो लोग खाते खाते नहीं सुन रहे, I'm talking to them. So the title, all summer in a day, itself is very symbolic. Itself is very symbolic. How and why? All summers in a day itself is symbolic. How? Now, summer is a symbol of happiness for people living in Europe. Summer is a symbol of success, happiness, खुशी का symbol है. So all summer in a day, मतलब पूरा खुशी का दिन एक दिन में है, एक दिन में ही पूरा खुशी है. It means that for some people, there is a very limited amount of happiness, and for those small pieces of happiness, they have to live the entire life. For example, say some people have just very less amount of happiness. Say for example, their parents have a divorce, and the parents come together only on the child's birthday. एक दिन के लिए मम्मी पापा आते हैं just to celebrate the birthday, and then the part ways, the mother goes somewhere, the father goes somewhere, and the child lives in the hostel. So for this child, this father and mother coming together and celebrating this child's birthday is for 1 hour or 2 hours. For these 2 hours, he leaves the whole year. So किसी किसी के लिए पूरा समर माने पूरा खुशी, पूरा हैप्पीनेस, पूरा एनर्जी, पूरा ब्लेसिंग ऑफ गॉड बहुत छोटा होता है. किसी किसी के हिस्से में खुशी, समर का खुशी बहुत छोटा होता है. So it means that for some people, the summer of 3 months is made shorter, and it is put into a day. So now why do I say so? Here there is a character called Margaret. So here there is a character, Margot. Now for Margot, the happiness is very small. Now all summer in a day for people living in Mars. they have summer only for 1 hour. उनके लिए सूरज निकलता है बहुत 7 साल बाद, 7 years they have to wait for summer to come, and even when the summer comes it is for 1 hour. That means for some people this summer is a symbol of happiness. बहुत छोटा खुशी होता है किसी किसी के हिस्से में. धूप is a symbol of happiness. I'm saying from European perspective. India में तो धूप is a symbol of frustration. But we are taking it from a European perspective. Europe में तो सूरज ही नहीं निकलता है, मैंने बहुत कम निकलता है. So I've heard people from Europe they come to Goa to have a sun bath. प्लेन खर्चा करके फ्लाइट में आते हैं सूरज का रोशनी लेने. तो उनके लिए खुशी बहुत कम टाइम का होता है. So कुछ लोगों के लिए सालों का खुशी मिनटों में होता है, सदियों का खुशी दिनों में होता है. So this is a symbol of them. This is one aspect. Next, what is the story about? The story is about people living in Mars. Now this is, people can live in Mars. इतना तक साइंस है. और ये फिक्शन है कि people are living in Mars. मतलब लाइफ इज पॉसिबल इन मार्स, ये साइंस है. लेकिन क्या इतने लोग रह रहे हैं, स्कूल कॉलेज चल रहा है, ये फिक्शन है. सो हियर वी सी दैट देयर इज अ ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल एंड इट रेन्स फॉर कंटिन्यूअसली 7 years. सूरज नहीं निकलता. सूरज नहीं निकलने से, सूरज is a symbol of happiness. Sun is a symbol of happiness. If sun does not rise for 24 hours, everything on earth probably will come to an end. Most of the things. So sun is ultimate source of energy. So sun gives a lot of energy for survival, not only to human being but all forms of life. So here there is a school in Mars जहाँ बच्चे आज स्कूल में वेट कर रहे हैं for sun to rise. Now these people have been brought up on Mars, और Mars में 7 साल के बाद सूरज निकलता है. So they have, इससे पहले जब सूरज निकला था they were very small, so don't remember anything. They do not know much. But this girl, the main character here, Margot, has gone up from sun, माना अर्थ, सॉरी, वो पहले अर्थ में रहती थी. तो उसके पापा साइंटिस्ट थे, तो वो मार्स में कुछ जॉब के लिए गए, सो अब वो वहाँ रहती है. जैसे किसी के पापा दिल्ली जाते हैं तो दिल्ली सेटल हो जाते हैं, ट्रांसफरेबल जॉब. सो ट्रांसफरेबल जॉब सच है, लेकिन मार्स में ट्रांसफर होना ये फिक्शनल है. सो दिस इज साइंस फिक्शन. सो Margot's father used to live here on earth. और अर्थ में सन निकलना तो नॉर्मल सा बात है. सन rises almost every day on earth. So here she has experienced sun. And when she has gone up on the Mars, everybody there, all kids there, they have never experienced sun. So she is the odd one out. She is the odd one out because everybody on Mars, all the students along with her in the class, they have never seen sun. So when they are asked to write about sun, they write all imaginary stuff. And here is the character called Margot, a small girl who has gone from Earth to live on Mars. She describes sun as she has experienced it. So here is another dimension of the story. The other dimension of the story is that when you live with people, L-I-V-E, live, who are very different from you, you are the odd one out. मतलब कि सब कोई हुक्का पीता हो और आप ना पिए, so you are the odd one out. In this boyfriend girlfriend culture, if you do not have one, then you are the odd one out. But being the odd does not mean you are wrong. It just means you are odd. So here everybody is criticizing Margot for writing such description about sun, but only she is right and everybody else is wrong. That means majority is not always right. मतलब जो अक्सर लोग बोलते हैं वो सही हो जरूरी नहीं. मेजॉरिटी लोग तो बहुत कुछ ही बोलते हैं. मतलब मेजॉरिटी मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम आर रॉन्ग. मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द पीपल दे धर्म के नाम पे दे गो एंड थ्रो मिल्क एट द ऑल्टर ऑफ गॉड एंड से ये धर्म है. सो मेजॉरिटी लोग तो ये करते हैं, बट इट्स नॉट रिलीजन. इट्स नॉट ट्रू रिलीजन. So here majority people in Mars, they have description about sun which is far from reality, and there is only one girl, Margot, who writes correct description, so she's the odd one out. So ये next story का theme है कि whenever you say something against majority, अक्सर लोगों के अगेंस्ट जो कोई भी कुछ बोलता है वो क्रिटिसाइज होता है, whether they are an entrepreneur, whether they are a teacher, whether they are a scientist, or whether they are an actor. Anybody who says something which the normal conventional people do not accept, he is the odd one out. For example, everybody used to drink coffee, hot coffee. Everybody used to drink hot coffee, and somebody made coffee with ice in it. Now it became a cold coffee. But initially this was criticized. This was not loved and appreciated. But then it created an industry called cold coffee. So ये odd one out था. So here Margot is the odd one out. Next theme is जिसके पास होता है, जिसके पास कुछ भी होता है, beauty, money, resources, study, marks, कुछ भी, people are jealous of you. Now jealousy is the basic jealousy is the basic inherent quality of mankind. Now I'll give you small kids example. You'll see if there are two siblings, एक भाई बहन है. So when the mother takes the son, the sister is jealous. उसको insecurity feeling होने लगता है. Almost everybody has this, excepting Mahavir, Buddha and all. I'm talking about common human being. So there are 2-3 brothers. The father cares only for 2. The third one feels out, or they feel कि हमको तो कोई मानता ही नहीं. Everybody looks after Didi. Everybody looks after Bhaiya. So this jealousy is always there. Here, coming back to this story, since Margot has seen sun, she has experienced energy, life, vitality, energy, happiness, blessing. So people are jealous of her. Now this is also a theme, and it is not true only on Mars, it is true everywhere on Earth. That if you have something that others do not have, people are bound to be jealous of you. So Margot से everybody in Mars is jealous of her. क्यों लोग जल रहे हैं? क्योंकि वो उसके पास वो experiences है जो बाकी के पास नहीं है. So they are jealous, and when people are jealous, they try to do either of these two things. One, they want to snatch away your happiness, or snatch away the source of your happiness. For example, कि आपके पास एक बाइक है, say for example scooty है, so they want to destroy your scooty or destroy you, either of the two, so that you they can take revenge against you. So यहाँ ये लोग क्या करते हैं, since Margaret has already experienced sun, सूरज का रोशनी, happiness, warmth को वो experience की है, so they want to put Margot into a closet, माने एक अलमीरा, एक बॉक्स में बंद कर देते हैं. क्यों? As somebody was saying कि ragging का story, of course he was right, ragging का reason जानना होगा. So it's not just simple ragging. Here it is inherent hatred for somebody कि जिसके पास मेरे जैसा नहीं, उससे साला छीन लो. यहाँ क्या है, उसके पास वो खुशी है जो बाकी लोगों के पास नहीं. So this is one angle. Third angle, last in the end of the story, you will see all children, most of them, almost all of them, they are very repentant. सबको बहुत पछतावा हो रहा है. किस बात का पछतावा? कि they have kept Margaret in the closet and Margaret could not experience sun. और ये फिर 7 साल बाद फिर सूरज निकलेगा. मतलब आपने किसी को दिवाली के दिन रूम में बंद कर दिया और दिवाली खत्म होने के बाद निकाला. Diwali comes every year, but this sun comes after 7 years. So after all, they are kids, so they feel very, very guilty, very repentant. पछतावा होता है उनको. They are filled with remorse that they should not have done this. So this is another aspect of the story, that human beings normally feel very repentant if they do wrong, especially kids. Kids को अपने गलतियों का बहुत जल्दी एहसास होता है, unlike grown up, उनको 50 साल बाद भी एहसास नहीं होता है. So children normally are very easy to make them believe they are wrong. बच्चे अपने गलती जल्दी मान लेते हैं. इसी छोटे बच्चे गलती करते फिर बोलते सॉरी दीदी और फिर आके खेलने लगते लूडो. Unlike grown-ups take 7 years to say one single sorry. So this is next aspect of the story, that kids are not filled with ego. उनके अंदर वो खुद परस्ती ego नहीं होता. And since they do not have that ego, they easily can realize their mistake and repent for it. Why do I say they are repentant? Because everybody looks down, कोई उससे आंख नहीं मिलाता है, सबको शर्म आता है, they are feeling ashamed of their deeds. So this proves that they are repentant. And kids normally feel repentant faster than grown-ups, because grown-ups have lots of ego, उनको, and this ego is destroyed if they say sorry or if they feel repentant. So they, rather than saving the relationship, they save the ego. So this is grown-up psychology. Next aspect of this story is, by the way, I'm teaching a story called All Summers in a Day. Those who want can write it down. Next is the description of the place, Mars, is very significant. If you have read the story, and if you will read, you will find this, the author is very particular about describing Mars in a way that it does not look like Earth. अब मार्स दिखाना है तो उसको बड़ा बाजार दिखा के पोस्ता माला पाड़ा दिखाने से थोड़ी होगा. You have to create through words, of course, an environment which does not look like Earth. अर्थ जैसा ना दिखे तभी तो वो मार्स होगा. I saw a movie in YouTube, दिखाएंगे आपको बाद में. वहाँ author has shown a very different kind of cinematography, camera angles to make you feel कि अर्थ नहीं है. Here what author has done, he has described rainfall, because यहाँ 7 साल रेन होता है. So his description of rainfall is very important because it creates a differentiation from Earth. अर्थ जैसा ना हो इसीलिए minutely इसको describe किया गया. So all summer, एक मिनट. So all summers in a day is a story about students living in Mars. All summers in a day is a story about students living in Mars and the experience of continuous rainfall. Now, rainfall is a symbol of sorrow. Rainfall is a symbol of depression. Rainfall is a symbol of pain. Rainfall is a symbol of gloominess, manhusiyat. And sunrise is a symbol of happiness, joy, excitement, uh, blissful, energy, vitality. So keep these two symbols in mind. कि धूप है happiness का symbol और rain is a symbol of sorrow. So एक जन को पढ़ते पढ़िए दीदी.
Yes, sir. Ready now.
ओके हाँ, सॉरी मार्स नहीं, वेनस का बात हो रहा था. मतलब हम गलती से मार्स बोल रहे हैं. दे लिव इन वेनस, प्लैनेट जहाँ लाइफ पॉसिबल नहीं. पढ़िए.
Do the scientists really know? Will it happen today? Will it? Look, look, see for yourself. The children pressed to each other like so many roses, so many weeds, intermixed, peering out for a look at the hidden sun. It rained. It had been raining for 7 years. Thousands upon thousands of days compounded and filled from one end to the other with rain, with the drum and gush of water, with the sweet crystal fall of showers on the conclusion of storms, so heavy they were tidal waves. come over the icelands. 1,000 forests have been crushed under the rain and grown up 1,000 times to be crushed again. And this was the way life was forever on the planet Venus.
वेनस,
And
अंडरलाइन दिस वेनस. हम गलती से मार्स बोल रहे थे. मार्स,
and thi-
वेनस को अंडरलाइन कर लीजिए.
and this was the schoolroom of the children of the rocket men and women who had come to a raining world to set up civilization and live out their lives. It's stopping, it's stopping. Yes, yes. Margot stood apart from them, from these children who could ever remember a time when there was not rain and rain and rain.
Okay,
They
थोड़ा
were.
now
uh,
those who are writing, I would request you to write it down. एक कॉपी लेके लिख ही लेना बेहतर होगा. Now you will see almost all stories that you have in your syllabus. It has an introduction. देखिए कोई भी कहानी पीछे देखिए. ओलंपिक प्लेयर में बता रहा है कि 1936 ओलंपिक गेम्स में ये सब हिटलर के टाइम में रहता. हियर इन दिस स्टोरी ऑल समर्स इन ए डे, कोई इंट्रोडक्शन ही नहीं, कोई कैरेक्टर ही नहीं. शुरू कैसे हो रहा है? रेडी रेडी नाउ सून. ऐसे कोई कहानी शुरू होता है? हाँ, ऐसे वो कहानी शुरू होता है विच इज नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट नॉर्मल थिंग्स, विच इज टॉकिंग अबाउट अ साइंस फिक्शन, विच इज टॉकिंग अबाउट द एबनॉर्मलिटीज ऑफ लाइफ. सो a science fiction story should not start like fictional story. It should start differently. So these mm, very starting makes the story different from other story. यहाँ जानबूझ के ऐसे स्टार्ट किया गया है. रेडी 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 सून नाउ. यस, ये जानबूझ कैसे किया गया ताकि आम स्टोरी से डिफरेंट हो, so that the story is different from others. Do the scientists really know will it happen today? So now the author is saying that this is the day on which the sun is supposed to be visible. अब people are curious कि कहाँ ऐसा क्यों, यहाँ तो daily sun निकलता है. Look, see for yourself. Children are, so they all have come outside the classroom or near the window and they are watching the sky. Children are pressed to one another. मतलब एक दूसरे से सब चिपक चिपक के खड़े हैं, like flower, weeds, intermingling, peering. Peering मैंने ऐसे करके झांकना, ग्लास से झांकना. Peering मैंने looking at the sun, hidden sun. अभी sun निकलने वाला है. Now here is a description. Roses, weed, all intermixed. Intermixed मतलब एक दूसरे से woven होना. So you will see whenever there is flower, there is some kind of weed. जहाँ जहाँ फूल होता है वहाँ वहाँ वो सब थोड़ा कांटा जैसा गांच भी होता है. So life, this is a symbol that you cannot have flowers in isolation. The moment you will have flowers, you need to face weeds, you need to face thorns. Similarly, सिर्फ अच्छा कभी नहीं होता, अच्छे के साथ कुछ ना कुछ बुरा भी होता है. Life is always a combo offer. Nobody is here who has only experienced happiness, who has never cried. Nobody is here who has only celebrated birthday party and has never gone to a funeral. Nobody is here who would say that I have only uh, been appreciated, never criticized. So this is a combo offer. रोज होगा, weed होना जरूरी है. बिना रोज के weed नहीं, बिना weed के रोज नहीं. So children are also different type. कुछ अच्छे भी होंगे, कुछ खराब होंगे. जैसे इस बैच में है, सब तो टॉपर होंगे नहीं, कुछ weeds होंगे, कुछ roses होंगे. क्लास में भी होता है, स्कूल में भी होता है, सब जगह ही होता है. With few roses, there are always some weeds. So this is one symbol. Then it rained. Now this raining, अब यहाँ next paragraph जो description है ये बहुत important है, because exam में पूछेगा कि describe the Venus, describe the place on which the school was established. So ये Venus का description बहुत ही different है from normal human description. सुनिए. It had been raining for 7 years. अर्थ में 7 years पानी होगा तो the whole earth will be destroyed. 7 दिन होने से we probably have a flood. So thousand upon thousands have compounded मतलब वो compound interest वाला compound, मतलब continuous, मतलब बढ़ते रहे रेन. मैंने पहले ऐसे फॉर एग्जांपल 10 हुआ, फिर 20 हुआ, फिर 30 क्विंटल ऑफ रेन. मैंने रेन हैज बीन कंटिन्यूअसली इंक्रीजिंग. फील्ड विथ वन एंड टू द रेन विद द अदर. मैंने यहाँ से लेके वहां तक. ऐसा नहीं कि हावड़ा में पानी आ रहा है तो कोलकाता में नहीं. मैंने पूरा वेनस प्लैनेट पे पानी आ रहा है. Now people have gone to these planets, but we do not know the details. हम मार्स मार्स बोल रहे थे, लेकिन this is a planet about which we know something. Satellite pictures, but we do not know the uh, complete thing. So this is where science fiction comes into being. जिसके बारे में हम लोग को थोड़ा थोड़ा पता होता है, उसमें थोड़ा मिला देने के बाद वो फिक्शनल हो जाता है, साइंस के साथ फिक्शनल हो जाता है. तो वहाँ रेन कैसे हो रहा है? With drums and gush of water, rain continuously हो रहा है, continuously. With crystal fall of showers, मतलब जैसे शावर गिरता है, क्रिस्टल मतलब एकदम क्लियर क्लियर, वैसे क्लियर क्लियर रेनफॉल हो रहा है. Rainfall is continuously like so with crystal fall of showers and concussion of concussion मतलब होता force of storm, मतलब बहुत force के साथ. It is not a real story. Okay, so here, so there's a description of the rainfall, that in Venice there is continuous rainfall as if drum जैसा कोई पानी गिर रहा है, जैसे अम्फान तूफान आया था. Gush of water and showers of rain and the concussion of storms, मतलब force के साथ storm आ रहा था. So heavy that there were tidal waves, मतलब इतना पानी आया था, इतना पानी आया था, जैसे समुद्र में पानी का waves होता है, उतना पानी आ गया था. A forest has been crushed. इतना पानी आया, इतना पानी आया, so much of rain has come, so much of rain that the forest is destroyed. ठीक है. Another forest came up, then that also got crushed, and this was the way life was on Venus. Venus में ऐसे ही लोग जीते हैं. जैसे यहाँ चेरापूंजी बोल के एक जगह है, वहाँ मेघालय बोल के एक जगह है. This falls on the रेन शैडो एरिया होता है, तो रेन शैडो एरिया के उल्टा होता है. एक रेन शैडो जहाँ पानी नहीं होता है और एक जहाँ बहुत पानी होता है. सो दे फॉल ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर साइड जहाँ बहुत पानी होता है. सो लेकिन यहाँ पानी रुकता है. बट हियर इन वेनस, वन ऑफ द प्लैनेट्स, 9 प्लैनेट्स में प्लैनेट, यहाँ कंटिन्यूस 7 साल से पानी हो रहा है. एंड देयर आर स्कूल चिल्ड्रंस, दे हैव कम फ्रॉम रॉकेट से वो लोग वहाँ गए हैं, अर्थ से वहाँ जाके बहुत बहुत साल से उनके मम्मी पापा वहाँ रह रहे हैं to do a lot of civilization, ताकि वहाँ भी स्कूल कॉलेज खुले, लाइफ आगे बढ़े. So suddenly children started saying, stopping, पानी बंद हो रहा है, पानी बंद हो रहा है. Margot stood apart. मार्गरेट सबसे अलग खड़ी थी. वो अलग खड़ी भी थी और अलग सबसे थी भी, और शायद अलग थी बोल के अलग खड़ी थी. Now why she is different from other? Because ये सब बच्चे मार्स के पले बड़े हुए हैं. They have all, sorry, फिर हम मार्स बोल रहे गलती से. They have all grown up in Venus. Venus में ही ये पले हुए बड़े, मैंने वेनस के स्कूल में पढ़े, वेनस के ट्यूशन में पढ़े. वेनस जगह है, मतलब एक प्लेनेट है. अगर कोई कैफे हो तो हम उसको रिफर नहीं कर रहे, मतलब I'm talking about a planet. So ये वेनस प्लेनेट के पले बच्चे हैं, और ये अर्थ से गई है, अभी अभी गई है, और इनके मम्मी पापा वहाँ बहुत दिन से रह रहे हैं. So their culture and their mentality or Margot's mentality does not match. For example, 11-12, I teach 11-12, तो जो बच्चे बंगाल बोर्ड से ICSE में आते हैं, I find it very difficult to teach them. Not because they're inferior, but because they come from a different linguistic background. So here, Margot is different because she was brought up in a different world altogether. वो धरती की पली हुई थी, और ये कहाँ वेनस के पले हुए हैं. So she is standing apart, और सब उसका मजाक भी उड़ा रहे हैं, as they said, ragging हो रहा है उसका. From these children who could even remember a time when there wasn't rain. मतलब ये बच्चे सिर्फ पानी देखे हैं, और मार्गोट पानी, रेन, सनफॉल, स्नोफॉल सब देखी. So she is different. Her experiences are different. So पढ़िए दीदी आगे.
Yes. They were all 9 years old, and if there had been a day 7 years ago when the sun came out for an hour and showed its face to the stunned world, they could not recall. Sometimes at night she heard them stir in remembrance, and she knew they were dreaming and remembering gold or a yellow crayon, or a coin large enough to buy the world with. She knew they thought they remembered a warmness, like a blushing in the face, in the body, in the arms and legs and trembling hands. But then they always awoke to the chanting drum, the endless shaking down of clear bead necklaces upon the roof, the walk, the gardens, the forests, and their dreams were gone. All day yesterday they had read in class about the sun, about how a lemon it was, and how hot, and they had written small stories or essays or poems about it. I think the sun is a flower that blooms for just 1 hour. That was Margot's poem, read in a quiet voice in the still classroom while the rain was falling outside. "Oh, you didn't write that," protested one of the boys. "I did," said Margot. "I did, William," said the teacher, "but that was yesterday." Now the rain was slanting, and the children were crushed in the great thick windows. Where's teacher? She'll be back. She had better hurry. We'll miss it. They turned on themselves like a feverish wheel, all tumbling spokes. Margot stood alone. She was a very frail girl who looked as if she had been lost in the rain for years, and the rain had washed out the blue from her eyes, and the red from her mouth, and the yellow from her hair. She was an old photograph dusted from an elbow, whitened away, and if she spoke at all her voice would be a ghost. Now she stood separate, staring at the rain and the loud wet world beyond the huge glass.
Okay,
What
bas, thank you. So these students are 9 year old, मतलब इनका एज अभी 9 है, तो 7 साल पहले, मतलब जब वो 2 साल के थे, when they were 2 years old, then they had seen sun. So the sun had come for an hour 7 years before. Venus में, according to this story, imaginary, मतलब ये बनावटी है. We do not know कि sun कितना, एटलीस्ट हमको नहीं पता कि वेनस में sun कितना बार कब क्या क्या निकलता है. I don't know the details. I have not gone to Venus. So here, according to author, he says कि वेनस में 7 साल में एक बार सूरज निकलता है. In Venus planet, the sun rises only for 1 hour after 7 years. So these students are 9 year old. So that means they have seen sun once when they were 2 year old. 2 साल के जब वो थे, तब उन्होंने सूरज को एक बार देखा है. They have experienced sun for an hour. But when the sun showed its face to the stunned world, when a surprised world, they were very small. They could not recall. उनको याद नहीं है कि जब 7 साल पहले सूरज निकला था तो कैसा माहौल था. So they do not know much. Sometime at night, they heard them steer. मतलब वो हॉस्टल में रहती थी तो बच्चों को देखती थी तो कोई कांप जाता था, कोई उसका सपना देखता था सूरज के बारे में कि वो गोल्ड होगा, येलो कलर का क्रेयॉन जैसा कुछ होगा, कोई इतना बड़ा कॉइन जैसा सोचता था कि उससे कुछ भी खरीदा जा सकता. दीज वर ऑल इमेजिनेशन ऑफ द पीपल लिविंग इन वेनस. ये उन बच्चों का इमेजिनेशन है कि सन कैसे हो सकता है, बिकॉज दे हैव नेवर सीन. She knew they had thought they remembered a warmness, like a blushing of the face in the body, and इसको पता था कि सूरज कैसा होता है, how it feels in the body, in arms, in legs, but उनका imaginary था. But they always woke up to a tattling drum. जब वो उठते तो एक ड्रम जैसा कुछ बजते रहता, टिप 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 टिप. Tattling drum refers to the sound of rain. The endless taking down of clear bakeless of the roof. मतलब रूफ में छत के ऊपर पानी कंटिन्यूअस गिरते रहता, तो जब भी वो उठते पानी गिरते रहता, तो सूरज तो था ही नहीं. They had never seen sun. Endless rainfall. Walking the garden in the forest and dreams were gone. जब वो लोग बाहर निकलते, फॉरेस्ट में जाते, इलाका में जाते, तो उनको पता चलता सूरज तो है नहीं. So the dreams about sun was destroyed. All day yesterday they had read in class. अब उनके स्कूल में पढ़ाई हो रहा है कि सूरज कैसा होता है. So everybody is giving description. Somebody says lemon, somebody says hot. कोई कहानी लिख रहा है सन के बारे में, कोई पोएम लिख रहा है. और मार्गरेट लिखी कि it's like a flower that blooms. But nobody can understand this because she has experienced sun and everybody has imagined sun. For example, कुछ लोग भगवान को जानते हैं, कुछ भगवान के बारे में जानते हैं. So they always have different opinions. जो भगवान के बारे में जानते हैं, they do lot of पूजा. और जो भगवान को जानते हैं, they do lot of social service. मतलब not this politician turned social service, real social work. So Margot has seen sun. Everybody else has imagined sun. So ये दोनों ने ऐसे लिखा है. So their essay will never match because they have different experiences of life. If I ask you to write an essay on mother, you would write differently from an orphan. You will obviously write differently from an orphan. Here the description that Margot gives is very different from the description that other students have given. So here one of the boys is saying you did not write it well. उन लोगों को विश्वास नहीं हो रहा है कि मार्गोट ऐसा लिख भी सकती है. मार्गोट बोली no, I did it, I wrote it, हम लिखेंगे. William said the teacher, but that was yesterday. सब कल का बात. मैंने टीचर बोली विलियम चुप रहो तुम. The rain has slackened, मैंने slowed down. Slacken मैंने decrease. And children were crushed in a great thick. हमने विंडो एक है, सब चिपक के बच्चे लोग ग्लास से झांक रहे. Where is the teacher? She will be back. एक दूसरे से पूछा टीचर अभी तक नहीं आए, तो बोला टीचर आएगी अभी. They turned on themselves like a feverish wheel, all stumbling spoke. मैंने उनका डिस्क्रिप्शन जो है, इट्स लाइक साइकिल का चक्का जिसका स्पोक्स निकल गया, उससे कंपेयर किया गया है. So kids are compared to a wheel. Feverish wheel मतलब so ये बच्चे का डिस्क्रिप्शन, मार्गोट्स डिस्क्रिप्शन इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम अदर पीपल्स डिस्क्रिप्शन. So there's that they are compared to the wheel. Wheel से कंपेयर किया गया है, जिसका स्कोप सब, जो साइकिल चलाते हैं तो साइकिल में एक चक्का होता है, उसमें बहुत सारा ऐसे ऐसे लोहा का होता है, उसको स्पोक्स बोलते हैं. So these kids are compared to a wheel which is feverish माने shaking and tumbling माने breaking down. So these kids are compared to a wheel माने चक्का जिसके सारे स्पोक्स निकल चुके हैं. ऐसा क्यों? क्योंकि बहुत पागल जैसा बिहेव कर रहे हैं, बहुत बावले हो गए हैं, दे आर अनकंट्रोल्ड. मार्गोट सबसे अलग है. मार्गोट स्टूड अलोन. शी वाज अ फ्रेल गर्ल, फ्रेल माने वीक, who looked as if she had been lost in rain. मतलब उसको देख के लग रहा है ना, रेन उसके चेहरे का खुशी, हैप्पीनेस, जॉय सब कुछ उड़ा दिया है. The redness of her face, the excitement has all turned yellow. She was an old photograph. It's a very beautiful example. Margaret is compared to a photograph जिसमें धूला लग चुका है. मतलब धूला हटाने के बाद उसका पिक्चर दिख रहा है. Means she was happy, she was joyful, but living here in this rain for 7 years or say some many years, इतना साल रहने के बाद ना, she is compared to a photo album जिसमें बहुत धूल लग चुका है. Whitened है, मतलब उसका कलर फेड हो गया है. And if she spoke, her voice was like a ghost. वो बोलती भी थी तो बच्चों के तरह नहीं, मतलब एक अजीब ही भूत जैसा वॉइस में बोलती थी. Because she is different from others, she has been looked down upon, as somebody said, ragging हो रहा है उसके साथ, तो उसका ये मतलब वॉइस तक चेंज हो गया था. Now she stood separate. अब वो अलग होके she is looking at the rain and the loud and the wet drops of rainfall falling on the huge glass. तो ग्लास है सामने क्लास में, तो वहाँ पानी गिर रहा है, तो वो लोग उसको देख रहे हैं. पढ़िए अदिति आगे.
हाँ sir. What are you looking at? Said William. Margot said nothing. Speak when you are spoken to. He gave her a shove,
शोभ मैंने
but
पुश.
she did not move. Rather, she let herself be moved only by him and nothing else. They edged away from her. They would not look at her. She felt them go away, and this was because she would play no games with them in the echoing tunnels of the underground city. Tagged her and ran. She stood blinking after them and did not follow. When the class sang songs about happiness and life and games, her lips barely moved. Only when they sang about the sun and the summer did her lips move as she watched the drenched windows. And then, of course, the biggest crime of all was that she had come here only 5 years ago from Earth, and she remembered the sun and the way the sun was and the sky was when she was 4 in Ohio, and they had been on Venus all their lives, and they had been only 2 years old when last the sun came out, and had long since forgotten the color and heat of it and the way it really was. But Margot remembered. "It's like a penny," she said once, eyes closed. "No, it's not," the children cried. "It's like a fire," she said, "in the stove." "You are lying. You don't remember," cried the children. But she remembered and stood quietly apart from all them and watched the patterning windows.
बस इतना समझा.
हाँ.
Okay, so now the students are trying to as insult her, rag her, disturb her. तो एक बच्चा विलियम पूछ रहे है, मार्गॉट क्या देख रही है, व्हाट आर यू लुकिंग एट? सो शी केप्ट क्वाइट. उसको पता है कि इफ आई टॉक टू मच बात बढ़ेगा और बकेड़ा होगा. बट दे आर सेइंग यू हैव टू टॉक व्हेन यू हैव टू स्पीक व्हेन आई एम स्पोकन टू. मैंने जब बोला जाए तो जवाब दो. ही गेव हर ए शो. उसको धक्का मार दिया. सो मैंने धक्का मार दिया. शी डिड नॉट मूव. रादर शी लेट herself be moved only by him and nothing else. मतलब चुपचाप खड़ी रही. जब ढकेला तो ही हिली, फिर ठीक हो गई. They moved away from her. They did not even look at her. कोई बच्चा मार्गॉट से बात तक नहीं कर रहा, उसके तरफ देख तक नहीं रहा. They are not even looking at her. She felt them go away. अब वो सब चले गए. This was because she would play no games with them. ये उनका गेम खेलती नहीं है उनके साथ, क्योंकि उनका गेम दूसरा है, उनका कल्चर दूसरा है. उनका वो अंडरग्राउंड में जाते हैं, वहां खेलते हैं. She is different. She doesn't play these games. If they tagged her and ran, she stood blinking. कोई उसको टान के ऐसे भाग जाता है तो देखते रह जाती है. She did not follow them. When the class sang songs about happiness and games, her lips barely moved. जब सब बच्चे खुशी का गाना गाते थे, वो चुपचाप रहती थी, क्योंकि उसका लाइफ का एक्सपीरियंस अलग था ना. तो for example, if I talk about parents, and if you do not have either of them, so you will listen to me in a different tone. So Margot used to listen to these happy songs from a different perspective. वो उसको दुख होता था ना, कहाँ वो खुशी का माहौल में रहती थी. तो she did not even make her lips move. When the class sang happiness song, her lips did not even move. Only when they song about sun and summer did she watch the window. जब वो sun के बारे में गाते थे तो विंडो की तरफ पानी गिरता हुआ देखती थी बस. And then of course the biggest crime of all, सबसे बड़ा उसका crime है, crime of course नहीं है, ये तो मतलब obvious सा बात है कि वो 5 साल पहले यहाँ आई है. मतलब वो सूरज को देखी है. She's experienced sun, happiness, joy, excitement, vitality. सब बच्चे से जलते हैं. As I told you in the beginning, that anything good is always an object of jealousy. So ये रहती थी ओहियो में. It's a place in USA. तो ये यहाँ रहती थी. When she was 4, तभी वो यहाँ से आई है. When they had been on Venus all their life. बाकी बच्चे लोग वेनस में हमेशा से हैं, और ये 5 साल पहले आई है. So इसको अर्थ का भी एक्सपीरियंस है. Margot also has experienced Earth, Sun, but this all other students, they have only experienced the rainfall of Venus. They have seen no sun, no happiness, no summer. कोई खुशी का दिन ये बच्चे नहीं देखे. So They had been only 2 when the sun rose and they did not remember anything. बट मार्गरेट को तो याद है, मार्गरेट तो अभी 5 साल पहले ही देखी है, बहुत दिन तक देखी है, और उनके लिए तो सिर्फ 1 घंटा था. They might have missed it. But so Margaret once said कि sun is like a penny. Penny is a currency of England, pound or penny. तो बाकी सब बच्चे बोले नहीं 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 ऐसा नहीं होता है. It is like a fire, she said, in a stove. वो बोली नहीं, जैसे आग जलता चूल्हा में वैसे. You are lying, they all said. सब बोले नहीं 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 तुम झूठ बोल रही, तुमको याद नहीं है. So बच्चों लोग में होता है, जो सबसे अलग होता है ना उसको खेलने नहीं दिया जाता है, उसको मारा जाता है, पीटा जाता है. And they're always, if everybody has a say something to contribute. सबके पास बैट है, बॉल है, आपके पास कोई नहीं है तो आपको बच्चा लोग खेल, सब बच्चे में उस बच्चे को खेलने नहीं दिया जाता है. ये this is always happened all over the world. So here, since he is giving a very different description from all other kids, तो उससे कोई बात नहीं कर रहा है. But she remembered quietly apart from all of them and watching the pattering window. फिर वो विंडो देख रही. पैटरिंग विंडो मतलब जब पानी विंडो पेन पे गिरता है तो उसको इंग्लिश में पैटरिंग बोलते हैं, टिप 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 टिप. So she was watching the window. पढ़िए आगे थोड़ा सा, एक पैराग्राफ अदिति, just one paragraph.
And once, a month ago, she had refused to shower in the school shower rooms, had clutched her hands to her ears and over her head, screaming the water must not touch her head. So after that, dimly she sensed it. She was different and they knew her difference and kept away. There was talk that her father and mother were taking her back to Earth next year. It seemed vital to her that they do so, though it would mean the loss of thousands of dollars to her family. And so the children hated her for all these reasons of big and little consequence. They hated her pale snow face, her waiting silence, her thinness, and her possible future.
Okay. So some month ago she was in the shower, नहा रही थी ये, लेकिन उसको पानी से डर लग रहा है क्योंकि इतना पानी देखी है वो. She has seen so much of rain that she is afraid of water, and she felt as if the water should not touch her body. Dimly she sensed it was different and they knew. सबको पता था कि इसको पानी से डर लगता है, ये सबसे अलग है, तो और उसको लोग चिढ़ाते थे. और ये सब खबर फैला हुआ था, उड़ती खबर कि इसके मम्मी पापा इसको नेक्स्ट ईयर फिर वापस अर्थ में ले जाएंगे. हाँ बहुत खर्चा होगा, इट विल मीन अर्थ से वेनस में आने का खर्चा, फिर वेनस से वापस जाने का खर्चा. बट शी इज हैप्पी कि नेक्स्ट ईयर शी इज गोइंग बैक टू अर्थ. एंड चिल्ड्रन हेटेड हर फॉर ऑल द बिग रीजन एंड लिटिल कॉन्सिक्वेंस. मतलब कोई एक्चुअली कोई बेसिक कॉज नहीं था, बट स्टिल चिल्ड्रन हेटेड हर. वन बिग रीजन इज शी केम फ्रॉम अर्थ. लिटिल कॉन्सिक्वेंस मतलब उनके जाने से, उसके आने से इन लोगों का लाइफ में कोई कॉन्सिक्वेंस नहीं है. स्टिल दे हेट मार्गरेट का मेन बिग रीजन था शी इज फ्रॉम अर्थ. कॉन्सिक्वेंस क्या होगा? इफ शी गोज अवे फ्रॉम द स्कूल, किसी का कुछ नहीं जाने वाला है. इवन इफ यू कमिट सुसाइड, सो आपके स्कूल में कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला ज्यादा. स्कूल विल स्टिल कंटिन्यू. ऐसा नहीं है कि हमेशा हमेशा के लिए स्कूल बंद हो जाएगा, शोक सभा होगा. सो इट इज अ लिटिल कॉन्सिक्वेंस इफ मार्गरेट गोज बैक टू अर्थ, बट स्टिल दे हेट हर. दे हेटेड हर पेल फेस. उसका पेल मतलब होता है जिस चेहरे में चमक कम, और डम, dull, dim, dim. So they used to hate her dim face, her silently waiting, her thinness, and her possible future. वो लोग तो, उन लोगों को इस बात का भी जलन था कि वो फिर से अर्थ में जाएगी. एंड अर्थ हैज अ वैरायटी ऑफ वेदर कंडीशन, नॉट जस्ट रेनफॉल. तो सब बच्चे को उससे जलन था. आज हम इतना तक पढ़ाएंगे. इससे पहले जिसको जाना है, एक बार हमसे कुछ पूछना है तो पूछिए, और बाकी लोग एक बार पढ़ के हमसे पूछिए.
सर